Hello, everybody. Welcome to Town. Today we got another exciting one. We are going to cover JP's top 8 list from the Toronto Regional back on June 28th, ran by Unsung Events. It's 10:24, so we what was it 10 rounds of Swiss and then into a top 32 cut.
Yep.
All right,
Yep, exactly that.
then let's just get right into it. What was your deck choice here?
Yeah, so I won the purple Luffy. I was pretty back and forth on what I was going to play that weekend, as everybody can attest to. I went through, I think, five. I think I brought 5 decks to me to the tournament to include the other 2 purple Luffy decks that aren't purple black, and then Lucci, and so maybe 4 decks. But yeah, so I was very undecided. But Zent, if you guys know him, convinced me to play purple Luffy just because it has such a good spread into UP and some other. It has a better spread into the other aggro decks that can give the other purple decks some more trouble, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely makes sense. So you went with Purple Luffy. I know, like in the lead up, we had talked about a lot of decks because this is the last regionals that I think all of us are going to. It might be the last regionals in general of 11, right?
Yeah, I think so. We have Gen Con,
Yeah,
and then that's it, if as far as I'm aware.
yeah. So then it's just getting straight to 12. So we had a lot of back and forth on it. So we're bringing you guys this deck profile because there's also the Treasure Cups coming in August. So the Purple Luffy might still be a good choice by the time we get there, including if you're trying to take Purple Luffy to Gen Con. So let's just look at your list. What'd you end up on?
Yeah, so we had also kind of been toying around with a non-straw hat build, kind of a more event focused, like Don Quixote Pirates one. I
Mm-hmm.
still think that list is really strong, but I kind of just said let's take the more consistent and probably tested list. So went with a straw hat package, like with some taros as well, but then introduce some other cards to kind of make your matchup spread a little more consistent.
That makes
So
sense.
first thing, find our 4 searcher laws. Search top 4, and it pulls a straw hat, a heart pirate, 2 cost or more. So it can't find itself for a giant, but it can find pretty much the rest of our deck outside of Katakuri.
Mm-hmm.
So very powerful there just to find our curve essentially, since you still do like going first and just kind of punching face and going 1-4-7.
Yep.
Yeah. So from there we have our Taro package. So we have our Luffy Taro. Uh, Shameless plug. I'm looking for 2 more SPs. Please reach out to me. Uh, let's see. Yeah, so Taro, then you have your 4 Zorojuros. Taro obviously broken. We all know that. But Zorojuro is like honestly probably one of the more broken cards in the deck. 4/6 Searcher that replaces itself and then finds your next play. It's kind of broken, and it's also vanilla statted, and so it's people have talked about for like years how good Kuzan is, like the 4/5 black card. But I mean, this card is actually insane. Just being a 6K body you can play on turn 2 that replaces itself for purple Luffy was just it's just invaluable. And with you know Dofi not existing and 4s being harder to bounce, it's just even better at this point in time.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we have 3 Sangaros. Not really any explanation there. Card is really good at the 6 for a turn. In my top last game against Buggy, this thing stuck for 4 turns, and then I followed it up with Katakuri into triple 9-cost Luffy. And I knew he wasn't playing pudding, so I just had 12 cards in hand because of this card here.
Man, dude, if you draw 2 cards already, it feels like the game's lost. The fact that you got to
Yeah,
4 cards is
yeah,
crazy.
it was nuts. And then usually not playing this on curve, but you could feasibly play it like after a Katakuri turn or after a 9-cost Luffy turn as a solid play a 7/8 with a blocker. And that's Onami. Just kind of filters out your hand for 2 bricks. Or one of my more played plays, I guess, that last weekend was play Onami, ditch a brick, play Zordura, find Giant, and that was able to seal me a couple of games just because I was able to go from like 1K encounter to like essentially possibly 11, 12, 13, 14, 15K if you include the Giant draw. So yeah, really strong play right there, and
Yeah.
it's a blocker that they have to deal with.
Oh yeah, it's really crazy to be able to clean your hand with a blocker, right? Like it's just
Yeah, it's insane.
yeah. So
Yeah,
let's talk
Queen
about
Who.
yeah. Before we move on, let's talk about I guess traditionally we've seen Purple Luffy run for both of Otaro and Sangoro, right?
Mhm.
Uh, how do we feel about the space there? Do you feel like it could go back to 4 if needed, or do you feel like this it's
Um,
tight?
I don't think it's really necessary. Once we get to the more top end heavy cards,
Mhm.
like the whole gimmick of this deck is you can either go second and play Kata on turn 3 without any kind of ramp, or you can go first and play Bon Clay on turn 3
Mhm.
or on turn 2 and then play Kata on turn 3. And so if you're able to have that play, it just kind of like made the deck a lot more flexible because in like like set 9 even, if you played Juro but didn't find Taro, your next play was just so weak. But just having both of these plays available to you made the deck just like feel a lot better
Okay.
overall. It's kind of the idea behind it. But I don't know. If you could play the Taro Juro or Juro Taro Sanguro and then go into Kata, yeah, I mean like that's you're balling right there. But we don't always have that. And so like just finding being able to find like 2 pieces
Mhm.
or just finding like 1 piece into Kata going second is also really strong.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, I mean you could go to 4, but I don't think you really need to. Uh, But yeah, so just moving on from that, as we stated earlier, 4 Bon and the card's just really good into UP. If you're going first, you can Bon into Kata. I think it's pretty hard for them to catch up from there, unless they draw like exactly Red Rock into the Sanji body. If they have that, then yeah, sure, fine, whatever. But more often than not, they don't have their one of Red Rock into a Sanji turn
Mhm.
lined up like that. And the ones I played this weekend for sure did not.
Yeah.
um, that's kind of the last of the curve fillers. Actually, yeah. So we can move on to 2Ks now. Most of them are pretty common and it makes sense.
Yeah,
Like
just the
Sanji blocker,
basics.
yeah, just a broken card. Especially not as much in this deck because you really don't Dom Minus a whole lot, but every other purple deck like green purple, I mean a 3/6 blocker is absurd.
Yeah, but it's
Uh,
also like we don't talk about it a lot, and I think a lot of people don't talk about it a lot in their deck profiles. But like having a 2K, having a blocker attached to your 2K, so you don't feel bad about running just random blockers, like is a very nice like thing to fall back on.
yeah, no, I totally agree. And he's a 6 cost, so like Usahachi doesn't rest him.
Yeah.
It's just inherently really nice to do, to have. The last of the straw had 2Ks. Just Frankie. I don't know. There's probably better ones you can run, but he's searchable. And like if I were to run to teach, he is feasibly a rusher that has rush if you have enough Dawn. So
Mhm.
that was kind of the utility there.
Yep.
I did not run to teach though. Thank God. That deck is a nightmare to play against, regardless of what deck you're running. To be honest with you.
For sure.
And then I put 2 Kamazo in. It's mostly for decks like Bonnie, and then arguably like Bellow. So when you're down minusing, you're able to clear like a Searcher or like a 2 color like Rosinante blocker or like a Raise Max or something like that. It never came up. The one Bellow I played, I was able to curve Law, Juro, Sanji,
Mhm.
and to Kata into Sanji in a blocker. So it was like kind of wraps from there. But yeah, Kamasa. I didn't play Kamasa once this weekend.
Yeah.
And I think, truthfully, if I'm changing anything about this list, is changing to Kamasa and 2 Double Finger,
Okay.
just for more ramp options.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And just to get to the top end, we have pseudo top end. We have 3 Sanji. Just kind of fill out your go first curve. Um, he's really strong. I didn't play Sanji a whole lot this weekend, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, though. But then again, I went first like twice this entire weekend,
Yeah.
so
But the
it
format is
kind of makes sense
also
that
a
I never
little
played it.
different, right? Compared to when Sanji felt way stronger, right? Like there's less like things that you need to tap down immediately. On like
Yeah.
like there's less Kuzans running around that you want to tap down immediately and bully
Yeah,
stuff like
exactly.
that. Everything's
Yeah.
like slightly too big for the Sanji.
Yeah, I agree with that. And he did come up. I would have won my first game against Buggy in Top Cut if I wasn't a wuss and ripped Sanji blocker to rest his Mihawk and then ripped life and swung 6/7.
Mhm.
I just try to stay alive, but if I'd done that, I would have won the first round and not had to play the third. But then I wouldn't have been able to draw 12 cards against a guy, which felt way more powerful. But yeah. And Sanjay gets really good into Bella too,
Mhm.
because you're able to rest that 4 cost Karasu, which is infinitely more valuable than anything else you can do, I think. And the star of the show, 8 cost Katakuri. Cards, honestly, absurd in every deck that it's in. Especially in this deck, because going first, putting this down on turn 3 is just obscene. Like the amount of advantage you draw off this is just crazy, because you're like looking at effectively, even on a 6K leader, like 3 cards a turn at
Mhm.
least. So I mean, like, yeah, cards busted, and I think this deck abuses it probably the best out of every other deck, if I had to guess, besides maybe UP, but jury's still out. Other MVP was this guy. I think so. I was kind of hesitant on 4, but I'm very glad that I played 4. I think I played like 2 of him in almost every single game because I had to go second almost every single game this weekend or last weekend. So I like when I played Ying in my very last round to get top cut. It was my winning in, and I was able to go Bon Clay Kata double 9 Luffy, and so he couldn't feasibly like survive because I just have way too much pressure. But yeah, this card's absurd. Draws you a card, 9/10 rusher, and also like UP has no way to answer it besides Red Rock. So if you're able to develop those two on curve, it just kind of wraps.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and then of course everybody's favorite card that's getting an alt art soon. Super glad. Gum Gum Giant, obviously four of those.
Yeah.
We love the Gum Gum Giant. Super fair and balanced. I think the only thing wrong with it is you have to Dom -2. It's a huge cost for just plus 4K, and then you have to trash a card too just to draw two. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
You know,
no,
the less
all
you say
jokes
about
aside,
this card, the better.
all jokes aside, this card's busted. Play a purple deck. That's all I got to say.
Hmm.
And then the last three cards were kind of just like for top cut, essentially, on the off chance I made it. Like, I
Yeah.
really didn't think I was going to make it. I booked my flight for, I think, 140 that day. So I won my first two games and kind of dipped on out of there.
Mhm.
But so the first one is Gamma Knife. That's more or less, it's searchable by law, and it helps against those 8-cost kid matchups. I think that's fairly self-explanatory. And then if like a UP turns their 8-cost category sideways early, then you're able to kind of swing into it and clear that for funsies.
Mhm.
The other one is 3-cost blocker chopper. Dawn -2, rest to Dawn on play. Very strong into the other purple matchups, and Bonnie even. Didn't really use it aside from, I think I played it once, and it was into, what was it? Yeah, it was into to Bello, because I just went Sanji blocker, and that happened to be the blocker I had in my hand that fits with Sanji.
Yeah.
It's 3-cost. I didn't have a giant, so here we are. But yeah, otherwise it was fine. And then Goat, slow beam. Shout out Zen.
Oh, that's the
This
goated
card's
card.
absolutely absurd. It won me 2 games in Top Cut. Not to mention, really funny point when I was playing against the Purple Luffy on stream where I kind of threw. The guy left 5 Dawn up, and so I was like, dude, there's just no shot. This man is running slow beam too. And so I sat there. I'm sitting there thinking for like 5 minutes because I'm like, oh, what if he has slow beam? I'm just gonna play it safe, blah blah blah, kind of from there. And he didn't play it that turn, but I talked to the guy afterwards. He's like, oh yeah, no, I'm on slow beam. So everybody, all of his friends. Yeah, card's absurd. Like playing against UP, if you like their first 9K swing, they'll take that, and you can block with Kata and slow beam out of it, and rest their other 9K swing, and they're just, huh? I guess I lose now, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, you do. Don't worry about it, then. But yeah, great card.
Yeah, so let's before we get into your matchup spreads, let's just talk about in the 1-0s, like for sure it's like it's something that I think people also don't talk about a lot is like the value of like really like disgusting 1-0s in like when you go into a tournament where there's top cut and you make it, right?
Mhm.
Like would you change any of those 1-0s to actually 2-0s now, like in retrospect after playing them? Because like it's for sure like if you don't know what you're gonna play against, if you have the extra slots, just play like really disgusting 1-0s, right? And then like sometimes they come up. But then like in Top Cut, like the chopper for example, I feel like probably doesn't come up very often. Like if you're just playing Swiss and they like even if they don't know, right? But then like in Top Cut, they see your list and like, oh, like I'm gonna think about it and maybe they make it a suboptimal play. But for sure, like some of these don't have a lot of value, right? Or the same amount of value compared to each other. Do you think there's any of the 1-ups that you would have upped?
Yeah, I think looking back, Chopper was probably the most troll of them. Like Gamma Knife is, I think I played Gamma Knife one time the entire weekend, but like the card is just, I only played one green deck, so it's like, sure, I got lucky and only played the one smoker, and he was totally bricked up, and that was one of the 2 dice rolls I won. So it was like, I just kind of punched him and made it so we had a Hody for game, and I just had enough. So both Gamma Knife and Chopper were not like great, but Chopper's also just a blocker too. So it's like, end of the day, while they can play around like some of these 1-0s, right? You also like they can also just make suboptimal plays when they're trying to quote unquote play around them, because they're like, oh well, I have to leave a Donna for Chopper in case he has that because I know he's running it, and it's like, yeah, buddy. All right, thank God he swung 8 there because here's giant. Like they like things of that nature. You can kind of. So even if it doesn't like see play, it's like A, it's still a blocker, and B, like it can provide some sort of value. Just like the one conjunction with Chopper Sanji being 7-3, actually is somewhat relevant. But yeah, like I said, I think only 2 cards I changed were probably Kamazo because he just didn't come up, and I think Double Finger might have. Yeah, so round one, I played Red Green Odin. That was a weird matchup. I lost dice roll. You're gonna see a trend with that one. Pretty cut and dry game. Like he saw his curve of like Sanji into Izo into or sorry, Sanji, Denjiro, Izo, and
Mhm.
Tahodi, and I was like, yeah, that's kind of scary. If I'm keeping it a stack with you, it's it's a lot of aggro. But I also saw Sangaro into Kata into Nine Luffy, so it was like I was drawing cards, and Kata and Nine Luffy were just giving me a lot of value, so that was fine. He went for game. I had like giant 2-1, so it was more than okay. Um, the next one was Buggy, went second again. That was like probably the worst, one of the worst hands I drew all game, all day. I had Bon Clay, and then I had like nothing until, so I just kept on taking hits, hoping he didn't have pudding. And I found nine Luffy off of like my second to last life, and then swung, played that down, and then I played another nine Luffy because I drew nine Luffy off that nine Luffy. So he just kept taking hits, and I was able to just Usahachi for game, which definitely lucky, but we'll take luck in these kind of runs. The third one was Marco. Went second again. That game, I don't know, it was a pretty do nothing game. I just kind of played Juro into Taro into nine Luffy's again. I didn't have Kata, but I think I didn't want Kata because they have fairly easy outs to Kata. He's able to establish a lot of like on board minus fairly early, so I just didn't play Kata down, and it didn't really matter because he didn't really have a whole lot to do for the majority of the game. Betty was weird. I went Law, and then he cleared my Law with Kuma, and then I went Juro, found Sanji. He gave me first, which is awesome. Really nice guy. Did not have to do that. Then I went Kata after the Sanji play, and then played another Sanji to clear his whole board, and then played a chopper down, and then he just ended up like swinging 10 after playing down to Ivankov, and I just blocked my chopper, and then I was able to kill him from 4 life just with my board that I had established there. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think he drew 2 bricks off life, so we'll take those. Uh, Red Green Smoker won my first dice roll of the day in round 6. Super cool to win that one though. I kind of saw perfect curve there, just your typical one for Taro, Zoro, Kata, 9 Luffy. And he had the smoker and everything, but I had Kata by the time he had that, so it didn't really matter. So his smoker stuff wasn't really doing anything. And then he tried to hoodie me from 2 life, and his only swings were smoker, leader, and hoodie, and I had 2-2-1, so I was able to get out of that. Fulfilled my first UP round 7. Went second on that one. That one was kind of weird. He didn't really have a whole lot. Then I was able to go my perfect curve of Bon Clay, Kata, 9 Luffy, 9 Luffy. He tried to putting me for game. He failed 2 giant off the pudding. So he got scammed instead of me getting scammed for game, which we always love to see.
Oh my god.
And then after surviving that, I was able to Usahachi as blocker, and just kind of went for game there. And then I played a mirror on stream through that. Essentially what happened, I opened Kata, or sorry, opened Bonclay Luffy, and I was like, oh, perfect. This is like exactly how like I win this matchup is if I go Bonclay Luffy. And then I drew Kata. I should have just played Kata because he had a really weak 7 Dawn term. And then I'm able to kind of like derive a whole lot of value off that while playing 9 Luffy's the rest of the game, as opposed to just going Bonclay 9 Luffy, 9 Luffy. And he ended up just having triple giant and a handful of 2Ks. I think he saw like 10 of his 14 against me, which
Oh
was
jeez.
which is tough because stream was saying that I should have swung just 10 10 14 and I would have gotten it, and I think he had like 11 11 like 19 or something crazy like that. It was it was absurd.
Oh my god.
So yeah, we lost that one, but it is what it is. I was due. Lost dice roll, by the way. And then and then I played Lucci round 9. That was pretty much your quintessential what you want to do as Lucci. They went first. They went Brook into what was it? Brook into Uta. So I had to Sanji the Brook and Uta essentially. Um, I cleared that, and so we just hard played Jack down. And I was like, okay, I can kind of stabilize here, hopefully. And I played Kata, and then he was able to Tempest kick Rebecca Hina, my Kata, Jack the Kata, and then he played a Kuzan and drew a card. And I'm like, cards in hand. He's like 8. I'm like, cool, cool, cool. That's not good for me. and I play down like another Sanji or that because I had nothing else to really do, and then he's kind of won from there. So yeah, he did what Lucci did, going first against Pluffy, and wasn't a whole lot to do about it. So at this point, I'm X2, and I'm going into my last round. I play Ying. I win my second dice roll of the day against Green Purple Luffy, and I'm able to go Law into Bonclay into Cat into double 9 Luffy, and was just kind of able to pressure him down to where he kind of had to go for game. I think he swung double 12s, and I was able to block one and counter. I would have gone to 15, but yeah, I got to 13 and counter out of that. So I got that, and I made top cut, which is my second top cut to date. So pretty happy about that.
What'd you end up playing against in Top Cut?
Yeah, so top cut, we had Green Yellow Law the first round. Luckily enough, the guy who was playing Green Yellow Law was using pretty much bar for bar the exact list as Richie was, who we test with and talk about his list very often. So I kind of knew it inside and out. And not to mention, he was nice enough to kind of give me what was working super well against him whenever he played against Pluffy. So, but still, Green Yellow Law had dice roll, which is super unfun if they see perfect curves. Like the first game, he saw like straight up perfect curve, just go first, see Cavendish bonding to freeze my Dawn. And I was like, Richie warned me about this, and I should have played Bonclay instead of Juro, but it was fine. Doing pretty close, but yeah, he just kind of had the stones the first game. Second game, we both saw our curve. He was able to go Kid Killer into Bonnie into Cavendish Kid Killer on turn 4, which is pretty gross. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
But I had go first. Juro, Taro, Sanguro, and Takata, and was able to just get a lot of value off of all of them. Was able to kind of outvalue him just from Sanguro, and then playing like a 9 Luffy at the end of the game to put enough pressure down. And then the last game was fairly close. It's where we went. I think he went for game with. I was at no life, but I had like 9 hand because I just kind of went to 0. I was a little bit bricked up, but I was able to slow beam his Hody because I left like 5 Dawn up. And then so I slow beam the Hody, countered out 2, and then I giant and like draw 2 more 2Ks, and I'm able to get rid of out of the rest of his swings, which is like 4 more 7s and a 6 or something like that. And I was able to take the first one, or the first round of top cut against Law. But super nice guy, really strong Law player. It's just, yeah, he didn't see his curve on the last game, so I was able to really capitalize on that with Katakuri, and I think I played double Katakuri that game, which was just got me absurd value the whole time.
And then your last top cut game.
Yeah, the Bucky game was first one I threw. Like I said, I should have just done Law into Sanji, but instead I kind of like weaned out and played. I think it was like Zorjura Onami, and I forgot he was running Sables in his deck, so like I should have just countered out of what I could have countered out of, and I still win. But I was just like, oh yeah, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure the one card, and it sure was Sables. So he was able to bounce that blocker and swing like 18 per game with his Buggy or something like that, or not 18, 13. And then the next 2 games were just me going first. I saw curve, just Juro, Taro, Sanguro. And then the second game was where I was able to so Sanguro on curve, into Kata, into 3 9 Luffys and 10 big booms, and draw 12 cards. And yeah, that was, and he also didn't really see in a whole lot either. I think he had like 3 things on board by, what was it, 7 Dawn, and one of them was a searcher. So
Ooh, that's tragic.
yeah, it was not good. It was not good. I was like, ooh, that's great. No 10 Buggy. We'll take that. So yeah. But yeah, so I was able to get my first cereal off of that. Really happy. And unfortunately I had to go catch my flight after that game, but also I'm pretty positive I was playing Infernity the next round.
Yeah.
And he was on Betty, so yeah, super glad it didn't stay and absolutely like demoralized.
Just take your win and run. All right.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take my cereal and I'll get out of there.
All right. I think that pretty much wraps it up. Anything you want to add before we call it here?
No, yeah, I just want to thank Zent for pretty much, I think we ran like the same 47 or so. I don't think he was on these 3 cards, but otherwise I think we're a pretty similar list. So for forced me to play this deck, and then everybody who I playtest with, and obviously did the Doze Town boys because we're in here to degenning like every day.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, JP. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope everybody enjoys the variety of content we're bringing these days, and just give us a sub if you liked it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.